The event is now live. I'm starting. Dear friends, on behalf of ICAI Muscat chapter, we welcome you all for today's event on cloud computing. Cloud computing can power changing business business demands and opportunities, driving organizations to be more agile, scale resources with increasing speed and elasticity. Today's webinar is a joint efforts with Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, DAAB. The purpose of the body, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, is to help the chartered accountant expand their knowledge and enhance their skills in new digital era with the research on potential impact of artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, blockchain, cloud computing, and big data on accounting and assurance, and publishing various position papers on the various subject. We thank the Digital Accounting Assurance Board for being connected with us. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request CA Ramanand Prabhuji to formally address the gathering with a welcome note. Ramanand Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Raviji. Good morning, one and all. Namaste. Salam alaikum. On behalf of the Muscat chapter ICAI, it gives me great pleasure to greet you all, invitees, guests from government, public sector, private sector, guests from Oman Chamber, guests from Central Bank of Oman, College of Banking and Financial Studies, Indian School Board members, members of the Oman India Business Forum, Tax Authority, Ministry of Finance, members of Omani Association of Certified Public Accountants, members of the Muscat chapter, members of the Overseas chapter, ICAI leadership, and my fellow managing committee members for this virtual webinar, Journey to Cloud, How to Separate Hype from Reality. Today, under the patronage of our Honorable Chief Guest, CA Manu Agarwal ji, Chairman, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, and the Central Council member ICAI New Delhi, who will add vibrancy to this webinar. We, the members of the Muscat chapter ICAI, also welcome our guest of honors, CA Dayaniwas Sharma ji, Vice Chairman, Digital Accounting Assurance Board, and the Central Council member, New Delhi, and CA Manish Gadia ji, Chairman WIRC, CA Sunil Patodia ji, past Chairman WIRC. Our guest speakers, captains to Cloud Journey, CA Anand Jangid ji, Managing Partner AGA, CA Rajeev Sharma ji, Founder Partner Outsource Global Private Limited. We also welcome all our past chairpersons to this webinar. As a part of the continuous professional education, our chapter has been very active in organizing the webinar on Muscat chapter knowledge series for our members, Omani finance professionals and finance professionals of all nationalities living in the Sultanate of Oman. Today's webinar is setting a new milestone in Oman-India relationship as the last World Economic Forum meeting held in Jan 2019, the future of work, the job for tomorrow's, Oman-India shares the exchange of knowledge economy. We also had a meeting with His Excellency Dr. Ali Sunaidi and the then ICAI President CA Atul Kumar Gupta ji to discuss the same and come out with the action plan for capacity building for Omani accounting and finance professionals and the new age of accounting jobs. 85 million jobs of today will disappear in the next 5 years across the globe. Robotic revolution will create 97 million new jobs in the field of artificial intelligence, knowledge economy, cloud computing, digital accounting, social media, Internet of Things. In the Sultanate of Oman also, they have also created a new structure for competitiveness and are working with countries like India to make them understand and upskill the youths and prepare themselves to the new challenges. We also have with us very learned cloud captains from Bangalore and Ahmedabad who will take us through this new journey and with this webinar. We thank all the sponsors and our technology partner Tally Solutions. Once again, welcome each one of you to this new cloud journey experience of this charter flight from Muscat chapter ICAI. Fasten your seatbelt, wear the masks, and wish you happy learning. Stay connected with Muscat chapter. Look forward to your continued cooperation and the support. Please take precautions and stay safe. Without further ado, I hereby hand over the proceedings to CA Raviji. Thank you very much. Over to you, Raviji.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, now I request CA Sunil Varghese, our Vice Chairman, to formally introduce our guest, chief guest, Manu Agarwal ji.
Thank you, Ravi. CA Manu Agarwal is elected to the Central Council since 2016, and he is serving the current term, which will end by 2022. He is serving as the chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, which he served during 2016 to 2019 even. He is a member in Direct Tax Committee, Disciplinary Committee of ICAI. He served as a member of Merchants Chamber of Uttar Pradesh and Vice Chairman of Fiscal Committee for the year 2021. He has served as Chairman of IT Committee of Merchant Chamber of Uttar Pradesh for the year 2021. He had played more roles in ICAI and SAFA, which I am not elaborating, but if I don't mention those things, my introduction will not be complete. Apart from this, he is a national trainer of JCI. It is a soft skill training institute. He is a member, Telephone Advisory Committee, BSNL Kanpur. Member, UP Government VAT Computerization Committee. He is President, Kanpur Chartered Accountants Society. He has held various positions in Rotary Club. He was member of various committees of Kanpur Income Tax Bar Association. He is a regular speaker in national and regular seminars of ICAI globally as well as regionally. He, by way of profession, he's a practicing chartered accountant for more than 32 years, specializing in the fields of auditing, taxation, management consultancy, and various other services. He is a founder member of CFM, Manu Agarwal and Company. Welcome, sir, to address us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sunil ji, the host of today's session, Ravi ji, the chairman of Muscat chapter, other dignitaries, the vice chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, my younger brother Dayaniwas Sharma ji, WIRC Chairman Manish ji, and the host of other dignitaries on the panel, the speakers for today's session, and dear friends. First of all, it's a real pleasure to be addressing all the members and the various organizations which were described by the chairman. I cannot even recollect how many associations he has gathered, how many bodies he has pulled up for this webinar, but it's a very good morning to all of you in Muscat. I compliment you on the choice of the topic, which is how cloud computing, how to separate the hype from the reality. Well, friends, before I dwell a little bit about this topic, I would just like to say that, well, though it has been explained by the chairman, the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board of the Institute is basically on the belief that digitization in the whole profession is taking place at a very, very fast pace and is set to overtake the traditional methods of auditing. World Economic Forum surveys show that the profession of auditing and accounting is in a big threat because of artificial intelligence and digitization. So we also, taking note of this at the Institute, have come up with this board, to help the members overcome this hurdle, to help the members adapt to this new challenge, and to remain relevant in all times, and especially in the times to come. All the latest mentioned, yes, we are doing a lot of research work on blockchain, on cybersecurity, on data analytics, which are the current buzzwords. Very recently, we have come out with forensic standards, another initiative which the board has taken, with the help, with the constant support of the very able Vice Chairman of this committee, we have been able to become the first institute across the world to come out with a comprehensive set of forensic standards. The first set, which comprises of some 16 odd standards, has been released and has been acclaimed not only by the regulators in the country, but has won a lot of fame and acclaim across the country, across the globe. So that is one area where we foresee chartered accountants playing a big role, and to regulate that, to form a benchmark where this work comes to chartered accountants is in the hands of chartered accountant community. We have come out with these standards. Apart from that, we are doing the regular courses of DSA and FAFD, which we are regularizing or we are updating very, very frequently. Just recently, we are in the process of revising the FAFD program, adding the standards to that program. And we are on the verge of getting the ANSI certification. Once that comes through, our DSA will become totally at par with CISA. That is the only current small hurdle which we have to cross, which we will cross very, very short. Apart from that, we have wonderful short duration courses on Power BI, on advanced use of Excel as an audit tool, etc., which are being acclaimed by our members the world over, because currently we are holding these on a web series, so everybody from across the globe attends. In our batches, we have participants from across the globe. Now coming to the current topic, which is of great relevance, which is cloud computing. Well, if I try to trace back when this all started, well, it is as new as just 2006, when Amazon probably came up with the first idea of cloud computing. In India, currently, it is a $2.2 billion industry, which is set to increase to 7.1 billion by 2022, just a year down the line. So that is the importance. This cloud computing, which was just a name, which was just something which we read about, which was just something which we thought about a year back. But come Corona, we've all realized the importance. We've all started moving to the cloud. And gone are the days when we were apprehensive of where our data will reside, what is the security, what is the safety, who will access that data. All those things are slowly and surely being addressed and being accepted by the members, because we understand the power. Today, you ask anybody to start some new software or some new technology, the first thing he'll probably ask you is whether it is cloud-based or not. That is the importance, because when we talk about work from home, it is always and always because of the cloud that we are able to work from. Well, I would not dwell much upon the topic because we have two very learned faculties who will do that. I just wish to end with saying I wish all the participants a very happy learning, and would like to assure the Muscat chapter, on behalf of this Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, we are always with you for any help, any support, any collaboration which we can do. We have had a joint study with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, where we've come out with a very good publication on adaptation of technology in the two countries, that is in India and UK. I'm proud to tell you that the Indian companies have probably adopted technology to a greater extent. That was the outcome of the study. But the pros and cons, the hows are all in that study. You can have a look. All those publications are available on the website of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. With this, once again, wishing you a very, very nice seminar, and wishing all of you remain safe. Thank you. Thanks.
Sir, thank you very much for extending your hands. So we will definitely make use of your research and this one. And now I request CA Deepak Gupta. Now I request CA Deepak Gupta to introduce our guest of honor, CA Dayaniwas ji, for his address. Deepak Gupta ji.
Yes. Good morning, Raviji. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to introduce CA Dayaniwas Sharma ji. Namaskar, CA Dayaniwas ji. CA Dayaniwas Sharma ji is a Central Council member, ICAI, is also managing partner of Lakshmi Niwas and Company Chartered Accountant. CA Dayaniwas ji qualified in 2005. He did his article with the PwC. Thereafter, he revived the Lakshmi Niwas and Company from 1 member to 130 staff firm and contributed to 100 plus CA fraternity. This group is one of their group is one of this kind to be called as Indian multinational firms or Make in India firm of chartered accountant. He has been covered by the Coffee Table Book and recognized by Young India Visionary, by AMG Innovative Media Group in whole of UAE. He is also currently, serving the chairman of peer review board. Is also chairman of the members and student service directorate, M&SS, including SSP. He is vice chairman of digital account board, DAAB. He is vice chairman of financial reporting review board, board member of quality board member of XBRL India, member of UDIN Directorate and Digital Transformation Process Engineering Group, chairman of Center of Excellence UAE Hyderabad. He is also member of multiple central committees. So a person, has a lot of capabilities. We invite CA Dayaniwas to today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Ravi, for coordinating and ensuring that we are here. And more importantly, the host of this entire chapter, Prabhuji, Namaskar, a vibrant chairman we are seeing in Muscat this time, and who's going to make more new landmarks this year in totality. And we have with us a lot of ExComs who are here. Plus, more importantly, Mr. Davis, who is the past chairman and senior member of the fraternity. They all make the difference. So thank you very much, sir, for holding the fort all throughout. And we assure that at the next generation, we will ensure that the spirit and goodwill is maintained at the top level. And most importantly, we have today Manish Gadia ji, who is the chairman of WIRC, our largest region of this country. Holding, I think, only 55,000 members in Mumbai alone, and 1 lakh plus members in the entire region. With us, otherwise, we have Sunil Patodia ji, a very, very learned person who has been the past chairman of the same WIRC. And more importantly, my chairman, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, Manu Agarwal. Just to share with you all, only the Accounting Standard Board and Auditing Standard Board have the chairman and vice chairman continuing for 3 years. But we have set a new board, which is DAAB, and we both are the chairman and vice chairman from last 3 years, and the kind of activity which we are involving is very high. So Manu sir, thank you very much for guiding me all throughout and helping me in setting the right path in taking the technology as an option to move forward with the knowledge of accounting, tax, VAT and everything. So thank you very much to you. Friends, very interesting topic, I think Prabhuji and his team is taking today. Journey to cloud. The journey to cloud, and the tagline which is very effectively used is how to separate hype from reality. I'll just tell 2 words with, just to explain these 2 statements. Journey to cloud. There are no borders. Cloud is not an end, and sky doesn't have any limits. So my point to you all is this new beginning which is there in the accounting world, particularly on the financial side, with having all the data which is lying in the cloud, will make a whole lot of difference in the coming times. As I said, there is no boundaries. I think accessing data from anywhere, any part of the world is going to be, it is a reality at this point in time. And the statistics are given by my no other chairman. DAAB chairman has already told what is the value which is attached to it. Friends, most importantly, I feel that, accounting doesn't have any language barriers. And what is going to happen is this entire thing, when we are going to sit in US, Muscat, India, wherever, we can actually access the data from anywhere. Earlier, it was a very difficult task to send it to mails and all those things. But cloud is going to make the whole difference to all of us. And I think it is not a hype. It is actually a reality. I'll tell you, Prabhu sir, the word which you have very nicely used, how to separate hype from reality. If we are able to understand difference between effectiveness and efficiency, effectiveness and efficiency, I think that hype suppression is the easiest thing. Effectiveness is basically how quick you are using the data, and efficiency is how qualitatively you are able to use data. So technically what is going to happen in the entire process is efficiency is also going to increase, effectiveness also is going to increase. What used to take time to transfer data from one location to other, now it is going to be just with a click of button, just changing of screens, everything is going to make a whole lot of difference. There is much more which our speakers are going to talk about the cloud. But one thing which I would like to say, this is not a challenge. It is fantastic opportunity to get connected to the world and ensure that your effectiveness and efficiency goes to a next level. Friends, one request which I have, ICAI has adopted technology to the fastest possible manner. And as rightly said by my chairman, that the first institute in the world to have forensic standards, and it has cyber security issues also. We are trying to do our best to ensure that lot of knowledge dissemination happens to members across, whether you are sitting in Muscat or might be in United States. The language, the approach, and the methodologies are going to be same. I request each one of you, and particularly the Muscat chapter, to conduct programs or might be training and certification program for DISA, which is Information Systems Audit in Muscat. You can write your examinations, also qualify, because one fine day after this ANSI certification is taken over, you will be recognized equal to any other global certification. And number two, on the forensic side, the kind of effort which has been put in by Institute is something marvelous. And you all will agree and appreciate once you complete that course. I request Chairman Sir to kindly, Chairman of Muscat chapter, to actually conduct this certification program in Muscat so that our members will actually get benefited out of it. It will be a big success. That is the assurance, and the price at which our institute is actually offering these courses is unimaginable. The quality of subject which is there, the topics which have been covered are marvelous. So I request you to kindly look into that matter. And also, Prabhu sir, I request you to kindly run a membership drive. Now the SSP portal is fully active, and now you can put your international addresses in that. I request each one of you by April, because this I should not be saying, but it is important that tomorrow you realize and feel bad. This is an election year, and this election year has an option to actually go for voting. And if by chance your address is in India and you are actually working in Muscat, it will make difficulty to you will not be having the privilege of voting. So my request to you all people is on SSP portal up to 30th April, you can actually go back and reinstate your addresses. So that will give you a right to vote your best candidate whom you want to, and you will not have a regret that you could not vote for this institute. This premier body, which is the world's second largest accounting body, I think each one of us make it big. And as I told Davis Davis sir, your people, senior people who have actually supported this institute all throughout across the globe with 46 international chapters is something which is unimaginable. This is the largest, I think, spread out institute in the world, and let us appreciate and adore that we are part of this beautiful body, and it is giving us our livelihood wherever we are in the world. We are actually recognized. This is the privilege of being a chartered accountant. I wish you all a great learning, and more and more courses on the technology side will actually enable our members to grow forward, grow more, and be effective in times to come. And let us make our chartered accountants who have been in the highest positions there to continue that highest position with the technology knowledge. And that is our endeavor, to ensure that DAAB delivers that on a continuous basis. Thank you all for inviting me with my chairman. I'm privileged to be part of it. And thank you very much.
Sir, it's not we invited, it's you only, you are the host, sir. This is the joint event with the Digital Accounting Assurance Board, and we thank you for accepting this. Sir, we will definitely look into the
Thank you very much, Dayaniwas Sharma ji, for this support. And to tell you also, we already have an inquiry from Ministry of Higher Education. They have set up this new research and innovation center. He says, I will set up a meeting. There is some opportunity to work along with the government. We look forward to your support.
And one more thing, Prabhu sir, just one thing. in Center of Excellence, because of my chairman, now we are setting up the best lab on digital analytics. In Center of Excellence, we are having 51 rooms to stay. All people can come and actually make a 2 or 3 days visit. It's going to be very interesting. Hopefully by month end, we are going to refurbish the entire thing. And the best data lab for forensic audit data analytics is going to be established in Hyderabad. So I request you all to participate in the large amount.
Sir, we'll definitely.
I will promise you, Sharma ji, we will have first Omani delegation to Hyderabad. Okay, in the year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, with continuing with further. So before we continue further, I just want to enhance the Dayanivasi's thought that members are requested to restore the membership of the ICAI Muscat, ICAI Delhi, as well as the fees for ICAI Muscat is also due. Members can pay their fees and keep ourselves active, because keeping ourselves active is always good. Thank you very much, Dayanivasi. Now I move towards the next proceeding. We are proud to announce that ICAI India has been elected to be the host of World Congress of Accountants, which will be held in November 18 to 22 in 2022. Now I request our founder chairman, CA Davis Kallukaran to present his insights on World Congress of Accountants. Davis ji.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sharma ji, for your kind words of appreciation and whatever we are doing in Muscat. It has been a great honor to be associated with the chapter, as well as, to be always in the limelight with the institute in Delhi. Come November 2022, the world is going to witness the largest congregation of accountants from across the world in Mumbai, the financial capital city of India. It is a great occasion for the members in India, for the ICAI, and our business community also, to showcase our proud country right from Kanyakumari to Kashmir and right from Calcutta to Mumbai. It is an excellent occasion, and we should thank our past president, CA Prafulla Chajet, for his efforts and the efforts of all the past presidents, which has culminated in making India the venue for the 2022 World Congress of Accountants. World Congress, it is not an ordinary thing which is happening. We have to understand that it's a great opportunity for the members to network with their counterparts or their colleagues across the world, to make it effective and convey our capabilities, about our country, about our relationship with other accounting associations across the world. So this Congress will give excellent opportunity for not only for members, not only for the business community, to bring to focus what we are doing in India and the 300,000 plus chartered accountants in India. I'm sure that this will be the largest congregation of accountants that might be witnessed in the world since 1904, when the Accountants Congress was first held in St. Louis, Missouri. Last year, in the 2018, it was held in Sydney. Now, welcome everyone to Mumbai for the 2022 Congress. Thank you very much. I hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, C. Davis. Thank you very much. Now we have with us the members for chairman of WIRC, who is from the Mumbai, to actually address us on the World Congress of Accountant, Manish Gadia ji. Manish ji, can you say a few words about the World Congress of Accountant? Manish ji.
Yeah, thank you, Devraji. First of all, for inviting me here. I thanks Muscat chapter for giving me this opportunity to interact with the members, the esteemed members of the Muscat chapter. Really, Muscat chapter is doing a fantastic job. What I have been learned from for years, and it has been founded by the Mr. Davis. So he is still active. It's a great inspiration for all the members. CA Manu Agarwal ji, Chairman DAAB, CA Dayaniwas Sharma ji, Vice Chairman DAAB. Under their leadership, since last 3 years, DAAB is doing fantastic job. Entire data of ICAI is now on SSP, which is again a very tough job, but under the with the hard work of Manu Agarwal ji and Dayaniwas ji, it has become possible. As Dayaniwas ji has already told that under their leadership, the first time in the world, the forensic standard has been set up. So other dignitaries on the dais, it's really a great opportunity to address all of you. And Mr. Davis has already told that in the year 2022, we are going to have a World Congress at Mumbai. For that, our past president, Prafulla Chhajarji, is working since last 3 years on this project. And the preparation has already been started, the event which is going to happen in November 22. We are going to create a history this time for hosting more than 10,000 accounting and auditing professionals across the globe, which is not happened till now in any country. And you will get the opportunity not only to meet them, to have a network with them, what is happening across the country, that also you will, across the country or across the globe, you will also come to know. And it will be a great pleasure for us in Mumbai to host a member of Muscat. Whenever you want any support, anything, you can coordinate, you can dependent on totally WIRC. It will be our pleasure to host all of you. And you all know that there is only one common language in the world, that is accounting. And with that common language, we are going to meet to our professional colleagues from the world in this World Congress. So I request all the members to register at the earliest and be part of this history in the world, which we are going to cherish maybe a long number of years, huge number of years. So thank you very much, and I welcome you all.
Thank you, sir. Sunil ji, you would like to compliment this few words only.
Thank you, Ravi. Actually, our leader is already spoken. I just say thank you to Muscat chapter for arranging such a wonderful seminar and also giving the opportunity for World Congress. So thank you, Davis ji, for speaking on behalf of WIRC, because ultimately is a event of our Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and under the leadership of Prafulla Chhajarji, our president Nihal Jammusriya ji, they are guiding us at WIRC under the leadership of our chairman, CA Manish Gadia, and our chairman has already meet all past chairperson for various subjects, including this World Congress of Accountants. And we all are excited to meet all our chartered accountant friends across the globe. And I think this is a great opportunity to meet and network and enhance our capacity build. So really, really excited to meet you all in November 22. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Sunil ji, for your kind words. Before moving to the technical sessions, we want to put our gratitude to our annual sponsor, Messrs. Tele Solutions. Now I request CA Jibu to introduce our key speakers, CA Anand Jangid ji. Jibu.
It's my immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Anand Jangid, a passionate evangelist for tech-based disruption in audit and finance domain. Anand is professionally a chartered accountant and a certified information system auditor. He is managing partner at AGA, an organization with focus of areas of forensic audit, IS audit, fraud analytics, blockchain, and internal audit function. Anand was part of risk management team at Goldman Sachs, covering multiple audits across much geographically for different functions of organization. His areas of specialization were Forex audit, DP audit, anti-money laundering, Basel II, BCP, and operational risk. Prior to Goldman Sachs, he was with ES Consulting Group at Infosys Technologies Limited, Bangalore. There he was involved in development of regulatory compliances framework for various compliances like SOX, and was part of team developing solution for Basel II Accord implementation. His responsibilities included working with sync with the projects of Infosys consultants Dallas. He has been involved in enterprise risk management, implementation, and IT audit for many international projects at USA, UK, Japan, China, and etc. He is a visiting faculty of IIM Bangalore, teaching IS audit and fraud analytics. Speaker at North America CACS and Euro CACS for ISACA. Visiting faculty of ISACA, ICAI Willinkar Institute of Management.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Anand. Over to you, Mr. Raviji.
Thank you, sir. Now Anandji.
Thank you, Raviji, and thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be.
आनंद जी 2 मिनट दीजिए, वो एक फोटो हम ले लें सर, बिकॉज सभी हैं तो एक फोटो ले लें सर। यहाँ पहले एक सभी आपका प्रेजेंटेशन स्टार्ट हो जाएगा, उसका फोटो नहीं ले पाएंगे।
जी
एवरीबॉडी इन Jim, can you take the photo? Jibu, can you take the photo?
Oh, sure. Yes.
Yeah. Smile, Manu ji.
Jibu is in the bottom. Just let me take a photograph.
Yeah. 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 Dayaniwas ji बहुत बढ़िया काम कर रहे हैं सर, आप करिए।
अभी भेज रहा हूँ सर आपको।
Perfect sir. Thank you very much sir.
Yeah, Deepak is not come on the screen. I believe.
Okay, huh?
Deepak was not on the screen. No problem.
हाँ,
Deepak, just 1 second, huh?
हाँ.
Manu sir, एक बार इधर देख लो.
हाँ.
Just sending it.
Thank you sir. Perfect. Okay. Sorry, Anand ji. Now you can
no, it's fine, sir.
Yeah.
Great, sir. Okay, so very good morning to everyone. I know it's in India, so already good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be there with all of you here. It's I remember just before the lockdown started, I was in Muscat and I just came back and I was under 14 days quarantine. And one more thing I just wanted to share with you, my voice may be a little bad because today morning I just got an RT-PCR test and I'm right now quarantined, but the report has not come. So I'm just waiting for the report before I go out of the house. So I have a little bit of cold and cough. So I just got a test done today morning. So there may be some disturbance. I'm sorry for that. Okay.
And Anand ji, you are on mute.
Yeah, I just got it myself. Yes. I think I'll be sharing the screen and I hope the screen is very much visible to all of you, right? So this topic which was, told by Ravi sir, and I was just talking, what are the areas where we should be talking about? I just thought that I should not talk about something which most of you guys already know. And I also just thought, because, Manu sir and Daya sir is here, they are aware of that there is a very nice publication from DAAB on cloud computing and chartered accountant. So I just shared the link also with all of you just to, for going it up so that I can actually do justice to my 1 hour takeaway we can all have in terms of this discussion. And feel free if you have any questions in between, I will be monitoring the chat. More than happy to take your questions and all things. Let's try to understand what is the sort of concept of cloud computing and how is it impacting us. Now, that was very interesting. Our chairman sir from Muscat branch talked about fourth industrial revolution. I'm not sure how many of you have been actually talking about that, but fourth industrial revolution is actually a genesis which is creating a lot of impact on why we are having this discussion today. And on top of that, I'm not sure how many of you have read a book by Klaus Schwab, who is actually the chairman of World Economic Forum. They have written a very interesting book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend you to please go through it, because you will get an understanding of what we are talking about. The speed and the way things are moving. Friends, I'm sure all of you in the profession are also seeing the impact of it. There is a very interesting thing in that book, which I just wanted to share with you. Mr. Klaus Schwab says, he says that to reach 100 million user, the telephone took around 75 years to reach 100 million user. But you will be shocked to know there was a game which came, I'm sure Pokemon Go, all of you have downloaded it. I actually bought another phone to play that game because it was a fun game. You are finding Pikachu and other things. So that one reached 100 million in less than 1 month. Are you seeing the transformation speed which is happening today is at a very fast pace? Cloud computing is one of the enabler which is basically making that happen. And when I say this is one of the enabler which is making this happen, I'm just trying to bring it out. Whether we like it or not, it is going to have a very big impact on our day-to-day function. See, friends, what I have thought of that which will add value to all of us. I'll just start with the overview of cloud, but I know most of you have some understanding, but I'm just trying to assume that let's start from scratch. So I'll start from scratch, an overview of cloud. Why this whole concept of cloud, first of all. And as we are professionals in the risk domain, let's understand the cloud risk also. Because there was a very interesting term which was used as the theme of the discussion, which was what is the hype or the reality between cloud computing. There are a lot of hypes, that is always there, any new technology. I don't know if you've heard about something called as Gartner hype, cycle. There is a hype cycle by Gartner. Gartner is a kind of what we call it as advisory firm, which keeps on their hype cycle. You can Google it out, Gartner hype cycle. You will understand what it is. And they try to put it up that every technology goes through multiple phases. Okay. Now, as Manu sir rightly said, this technology over a period of time has become very, I would say, mature. I would use the word mature. Like 2006, what it was and what we see today, 2021, it has become so mature. Even right now, we are having this session, and I'm sure Ravi sir is right now recording it on the cloud, right? So this data is actually being recorded on the cloud. And when we see that, that is something which we are trying to say that there is a lot of things which has changed. But even having said that, there are a lot of things which we have to still talk about, understand, and do it. Before I go into this, there are two things which CS can do in detail, add value. One is advisory. Okay. I am sure you have seen one very interesting report which came in Economics Time. Something around the budget time. There was a very interesting artifact which came in Economics Time India. They said if you take BSE 500 list, Bombay Stock Exchange, BSE 500 list, out of the 500 companies, 80 companies have chartered accountant playing the role of CIOs. Now that's an interesting thing. And to name few of the big companies which are there, they are talking about ITC, where the CIO is a chartered accountant. And like that, they have listed it up. That was a very interesting analysis which was pointed out in Economics Time. And it calls for like a chartered accountant playing the role of what we call evangelist for that, and trying to say, hey, you know what, this thing can be done better in cloud. And the cost, we all are all about costing. So the CapEx versus OpEx model, and cloud adds a lot of value. So let me ask you one question just to give what I'm trying to say. So let's say, let's ask Ravi sir only. Ravi sir, which mobile phone you are having?
iPhone.
iPhone 12?
Yeah, I think iPhone 11.
11. Okay. How much you paid for that, sir?
Around 300 riyal.
300 riyal. If I convert in USD, it would be around 1200 to 1300 USD. Okay. Now let me ask you one thing. Are you using all the feature of iPhone?
Sir, I'm using only for phone and WhatsApp.
Now, Ravi sir, what if I give you an option that you pay as you use? You don't pay for things which you are not using. Let's say you're using it for calls, SMS, WhatsApp, and listening to music and taking some photographs. But iPhone has much more feature. You can check out the list which is there. Now, why should I should pay for these things? The fundamental of cloud computing is, can I have computing as what we call, the word we use is utility. So let's say, for example, I remember Muscat has this, you would have your electricity distribution company, right? Now, you don't own the electricity distribution company. You pay for what you use. If you don't use it, you don't pay for that. If your house is closed for 1 month, you don't pay anything. You will pay the minimum thing. Yes. Can we do something like that? And that is what the fundamental concept of cloud computing is all about. And that's a very interesting thing, because I'm just trying to go very down, I'm just trying to start with overview. I don't want to go with a lot of, PPT, death by PowerPoint. So I have a lot of 27 slides, but I'll just try to keep some of the concept clear. And we can add a lot of value out there, because organizations, I have to tell you one thing. I used to work for Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs in 2006-7, when I used to be working, 6, 7, 8, 9, I was there 4 years. Our annual budget used to be $4 billion. That was more than the Infosys turnover, with the second company I joined. You can go and check out the financial statement of Goldman Sachs. They are still at $3 billion. They have not increased that. Now, what does it mean? Such a large company is spending a lot of money on that. The whole idea is, can I add value to the organization in the same budget? Can I get better ideas, better things out there? Yes, there are some concerns which are there. Concerns like security and all the thing, but all of you know, there is one Black Hat conference which happens in India, or if you get a chance, you should go to US in Nevada. They have in Las Vegas, they have a conference called the Black Hat Conference. So I attended that in 2018. And they have a competition called Design the World's Most Secure Computer. Forget about budget. So don't you even worry about budget. You just design the most secure computer. And you know what is the design which has won the project award till now? After that, no better design has come. They said you built a nuclear bunker. And on level 7 of the nuclear bunker, you put a computer without internet connections. That is the world's most secure computer. The moment you put it to internet, nothing is secure. So it's a misnomer which people have that, oh, we are on cloud, it can be an issue. But having said that, we need to understand the advisory and assurance part of that. And then finally, the checkout. This is going to be the agenda, friends, which I would like to take. I have, I think, around 45 minutes left. So I'll use it best to that. And maybe in 5 minutes, if the, Ravi sir permit, I will go for some question answer, or maybe in the last, whatever way we would like to do that. So having said that, friends, feel free, I'll be drinking some water in between, so don't take it otherwise. I'm no disrespect to you, just I'm not really so good in my 100% capacity right now. Okay, so overview of cloud. Let's try to go into this. So when I say overview of cloud, there are some fundamentals which is there. I can actually keep on saying blah, 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 blah. Or I can actually play a small video for you. I just thought, there is a word which we all know, right? If you've heard about this, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So instead of going through all these things, I will come to that. I just play a small video. Maybe that will, show some value to you first. It's a kind of an introduction video on cloud. And let me just show you, and then we will come back and try to understand how we can actually understand the different working of this one. Just give me a moment. Okay, here we go. Yeah.
You have big ideas.
One moment.
To streamline.
Let me share it up. Just a minute. Of late, we have become so comfortable with sharing all these things. So here we go. Yeah.
You have big ideas to streamline your business and drive sales through the roof. But to get there, your ideas need business apps. And business apps have always been too expensive, especially in times like these. Behind each one is a world of complexity. They need a data center with office space, power, cooling, bandwidth, networks, servers and storage, a complicated software stack, and a team of experts to install, configure, and run them. You need development, testing, staging, production, and failover environments. And when there's a problem, good luck. You call technical support, and they don't know, so they blame someone else. Oh, and when new versions come out, you would upgrade, but that might bring the whole system down. Now, this is for one app. When you multiply these headaches across dozens or hundreds of apps, it's easy to see why the biggest companies with the best IT departments aren't getting the apps they need. Small businesses don't have a chance. Cloud computing is a better way to run your business. Instead of running your apps yourself, they run on a shared data center. You just plug in, like a utility. This makes it fast to get started and it costs less. It's like Gmail compared to Microsoft Exchange. With Gmail, do you need servers and storage? No. Do you need a technical team to keep it up and running? No. Do you have to do upgrades? No. When you use any app that runs in the cloud, you just log in, customize it, and start using it. That's the power of cloud computing. This model is so much better, it's changing the way we think about software. Not just for consumer apps, it's also being used for business apps. We call this enterprise cloud computing. Businesses are running all kinds of apps in the cloud these days, including custom-built apps. Why? Because you can be up and running in a few days, which is unheard of with traditional business software. They cost less because you don't need to pay for all the people, products, and facilities to run them. And it turns out they're more scalable, more secure, and are more reliable than the vast majority of apps out there. Here's why. They're based on an architecture called multi-tenancy. With a multi-tenant app, there isn't a copy of the app for each business that's using it. It's one app that everyone shares. But it's flexible enough for everyone to customize for their specific needs. It's like a giant office building where everyone shares the infrastructure and services, like security, yet each business can customize their own office space. This means apps are elastic. They can scale up to tens of thousands of users or down to only a few. Upgrades are taken care of for you, so your apps get security and performance enhancements and new features automatically. Now, the way you pay for cloud apps is also different. Forget about buying servers and software. When your apps run in the cloud, you don't buy anything at all. It's all rolled up into a predictable monthly subscription, so you only pay for what you use. Finally, cloud apps don't eat up your valuable IT resources, so your CFO will love it. And you can focus on projects that really impact the business, like deploying more apps. Cloud computing is a simple idea, but it can have a huge impact.
So guys, this was on cloud computing. I just thought instead of going through a list of discussion on multiple things, I will just talk about this one part. Now, going back, you heard some of the interesting word which was there, and that is something which are the fundamental which we need to understand, like multi-tenancy, which is nothing but you go to a hotel, instead of getting a villa at your place, I can actually go and book myself in a hotel room. I'll pay for how many days I'm there. If I go for a villa, I have to buy everything, and I have to have someone to take care of that and stuff like that. So I'm having a measure service, which is basically only paying for what I use. On demand, I can actually receive a term called rapid elasticity. I can go high and low as I would like to do that. I can pull multiple resources. If you know AWS, Amazon Web Services, it was basically meant for Amazon guys first, but they said, okay, we can make money out of that. Whenever our servers are free, we can actually use it. And there's unlimited capacity. And when you are going for it, I don't know if you notice one very interesting thing or not. They said it's more secure because you have a basic fundamentals which are going to be out there. And I'm not going into this topic like service models and deployment, but quickly cover it for the completeness purpose. Software as service, a good example would be Office 365. You pay for what you use. Earlier we used to buy Office licenses. We used to pay 24,000 rupees for Office Professional. Today, you can actually get only Excel if you would like to use, because if I'm using, any of these things, I don't use MS Access maybe in all the system, but I'm actually paying for that. So software as a service is there. Then there is platform as a service where I can do development. If you have tried to climb in a train without a platform, you'll understand how tough it is there. Have you tried to get into a train from grounds up? Basically no platform. You'll see it's very tough. It's like climbing a hill. But when you're doing it with a platform, it's much easier. Just get into the train. And now there are a lot of organizations who go for infrastructure services. Today, the Uber of the world and the Facebook of the world, they're all working from AWS or Azure cloud, because it's much easier. They don't have to worry about maintaining the servers and all the things. I'm sure many of you would have done data center reviews and all things. It's a mad life. Every organization, if they have to have their own data center, it's a big problem. And similarly, there are deployment model like public cloud, which I talked to you about from the perspective of clients like organization like AWS, Amazon Web Services, or Azure, or other things which are there. They are public. You can actually just pay for some amount, X amount, and you can get it out. And you'll be shocked to know that I can get a server which otherwise cost me, like, I'm just giving an example just for, for calculation purpose. There is a one model of HP server, Hewlett Packard. They have a server called DL380. Now, if I buy it in India, the server will cost me for something around 2.5 to 3 lakhs, DL380. Okay. Now, if I get the same service in cloud, I can get it for something around 63 paisa per hour. So hourly rate I'm going to pay. Which one is better? You can just do a kind of a calculation. It's an OPEX versus CAPEX model. I don't have to worry about that. Okay, and I can just get it out. So that's a public cloud. Private cloud, a lot of large organizations like Infosys and all things, they have already a huge environment. So they said, why don't we use as much as possible our existing environment? The third one is a hybrid, which is a mix of public and private cloud. And finally, there is also community cloud. Like, for example, there are a lot of insurance company or automobiles company in India. They have actually their own cloud, which is used by them for, basically in data analytics concept, visualizing what should be the, I would call it a, what is going to be my, death expectancy and all that kind of stuff. They use that. So cloud computing, this is an overview slide which actually covers everything what you can actually think of from a perspective. And I already have talked to you about the public and private cloud, but one of the things which I want to discuss here is there is a difference between infrastructure, platform, and software as a services. Instead of, anyway, I'll be sharing this presentation, though I don't want to go into the texty stuff, but if you have to just see this, imagine that the cloud vendor in this case, in infrastructure as services, will give you only infrastructure, which is like hardware, storage, softwares, and everything. You have to do everything yourself. That is how the responsibility chart looks like from a cloud computing perspective. If I am actually having platform as a services, he would actually install the software, also make it ready for me and give it to me, and then I can do my development. Whereas software as a services, I'm 110% sure, because right now, most of your organization will be using Office 365, or they would be using some kind of services which is there, where everything is managed by Microsoft, and what you do is just configure the basic thing, how many users are there, what they are doing, and stuff like that. So this is how the whole environment works, and that is what we should understand. Now, this is the fundamental part which I have covered, and I'm sure Manish will cover more detail, but let me go into the cloud risk. There are risks, yes. Now, again, there is one very interesting thing, okay? At a macro perspective, do you know one very interesting thing? For a long, long time, the Americans and the Europeans are fighting for a long time. Now, CSA is Cloud Security Alliance, which is a US-based body. NISA is a European body. Now, both of them has their different view on cloud computing. So many of the things are, I would use the word common, but then there are a lot of things they define differently. So I just thought in the discussion today on the risk perspective, I'll give you both the perspective. NISA, what do they think about cloud computing risk? CSA, what they talk about cloud computing risk. So CSA basically try to think it from data breaches. How many of you have seen the latest breach of Facebook? I hope you have changed your Facebook IDs and sorry, passwords, not IDs. IDs will remain. Have you changed it or not? Guys, please go and change it. The phone number of Mark Zuckerberg was leaked and he was using Signal. People were shocked. He's not using Facebook Messenger and he's using Signal. Okay. Data breaches, which is very problematic areas. And because it is in cloud, you can actually do it anytime, anywhere. Second, there can be loss of data. The data which is there, it may not be, used out there. There may be account hijacking, which is like more from perspective, someone take over your account because you have an AWS account, I hack that account and everything is done. Insecure API, if I'm connecting with other things, API is application, interface, application programming interface, we call it up. It is basically like connecting to multiple applications in the system. There can be malicious insider, and you all know about denial of service attack. I don't want to go it. Denial of service attack is when you need it, your environment is not working. Imagine you are doing closing of books of account on quarterly basis or monthly basis or yearly basis, And that time I'll get a denial of service attack on your SAP or Oracle environment. So that's the kind of things which can happen. There can be abuse of cloud services by some people. Insufficient due diligence. People have not done a proper checks and balances. And share technology vulnerabilities, because if there is a technology which is working, when you start sharing it, there may be something. So this is, you see this one, very interesting. I just thought I will discuss this. CSA is more from a perspective of what they call it as, what are the risks from the IT perspective, whereas ENISA was more on governance side. So ENISA said, hey, you know what? No, the issue is something different. Lock-in period. What is lock-in period? Let's say, for example, I go to a service provider. I'm sure all of you have heard about one ERP called Workday, which is giving a good competition to SAP and Oracle. Workday is going good. Now, Workday is cloud-based ERP. But let's say I am on cloud-based ERP and all my data is there. I am locked in. I can't have, if something goes wrong, let's say Workday goes for if they go for something like bankruptcy, I cannot move this data to SAP Cloud or Oracle Cloud. That is called lock-in period. There is also isolation failure. Many times it is not isolated. If it's having, it can have impact on other side. There are compliance risks. Privacy is a big issue in, GDPR. If you've heard about that in Europe, that is, privacy is a big issue out there. We have a management interface, which is API kind of thing, malicious inside the same. So this is the two view. But I wanted to tell you that CSA was looking more on the IT side. ENISA was looking more on the governance side. That is how they are different in their approach. Now, let me give you this control. How many of you know this good-looking gentleman? Anyone knows this guy? I've never heard about this guy. Anyone? Come on, give me a name. Have you heard about this guy?
In chat box?
Yeah, in chat box. Come on, I was thinking everyone will know.
Please put in the chat box if anybody knows this name.
No? So this is a guy who did the data leakage for NSA, National Security Agency's US. This guy used to work for Booz Allen. He was a contractor and he was a sysadmin. Now data belongs to whom? NSA. Who has access to data? Messrs. Booz Allen. Who was actually using the data? System admin. Now he leaked all this data. What happens because of that? Now in this kind of thing, what goes is, you don't know, there are new risks coming. There are requirement of new controls as well as new audit steps. Because we have to understand it clearly that this kind of challenges are going to be there all the time. Got my point?
Yeah, Anandji, some names came. Edward.
Oh yeah, good. Edward Snowden. Okay, Snowden, you know that.
Thank you very much. Is the correct name, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very much. I was just saying.
Thank you very much for this name.
Dheerajji, great. Thanks. I was just checking it out. Okay. I'm just joking. So Edward Snowden, even though he's a big thing, he became an enemy of state. Right now he's in Russia. He has been given asylum by Russia. But it's a very interesting thing. There was a lot of issues by US government. This was like a big slap on their face. One of the most powerful organization in the world is actually the data get leaked, and the data are not simple data. Some of the hacking tools they use and all thing also got done. So these are the challenges which we call in cloud. And then the questions comes, I'm just telling you, who is going to be in charge of backing up of the data? Is it you? You have to environment it up. Who's doing it up? There are different organizations, different things. It's something like what you see it up. People think, oh, my side, nothing is happening. It reminds me of a days. Do you remember the time when we were doing articleship, friends, all of you, all of us chartered accountants, so we have done our 3 years of bonded laborship. When you were doing 3 years of bonded laborship, why we call it bonded laborship? It is because you sign a bond, okay? Nothing wrong in that. If you remember, we used to do something very interesting. Personally, whenever you used to go, I did in my articleship from a small and medium firm, whenever you do go for any organization to do an audit or anything, what information did you want it personally? Any idea? In the chat box, you can put it, guys. Personally, what information you wanted to have? So I'll tell you, personally, I wanted to know what is the salary of the CFO. because I want to know one day I'll become a CA, then I'll become a CFO. I didn't become, that's a different thing. I would have this much salary. Okay. And sometimes you feel, oh my God, this guy's being paid so much. Now, we went to one of the organization, I'll not name it. There's the CFO, it was a large organization in Chennai. And the CFO says, no, this is confidential information, will not share it. I said, okay, no problem, sir, but we have to check all the compliances, everything. He said, yeah, you can check all the compliances. So when we were checking the compliances, friend, we started with PF and ESI. Now tell me one thing, if I have ES and PFI, ESI and PF, don't you think I can figure it out what is your salary data? It's very easy, right? So we need to understand where the data leak is happening, where the things are actually working, and who's in charge of all the things. And how business thinks of this is another problem, because first of all, you should also know why it is called cloud computing. The reason is, if you take a flow chart, the symbol of cloud is basically depicted by internet. Internet is depicted by a symbol of cloud. So when we say everything is happening on the internet, that's why we use it. So last year, we recognized our process was too complicated and we put everything on the cloud. But is it the right approach or not? These are the things we need to understand. Now, this is a little busy slide, but I just intentionally wanted to have it busy. See, these are some of the dimensions of cloud risk assurance perspective. First one, start with your, what we call it as your identity and access management. Who's having your, a proper identity and access, how it has to be done. Are the people who has left the organization, their name removed? What are the financial impact of that? We have to do a proper calculation. This is one of the area where chartered accountant is big time demand, because time value of money, right? Over a period of time, what is going to be the cost? There is something called as a term called TCO, which is badly managed in most of the organizations. So we have to understand that. Then we have regulatory requirement. There are a lot of areas. Now there is one change in Companies Act in India. I'm sure you've heard about that there should be audit trail and data should be stored in India, which means you cannot have a cloud service provider based out of US or any other part of the world. We have to see that. Data in terms of the segregation and who has access to that. Operational part, how do you manage your SLA, service level agreements? And the most important, this is what I would like to tell you, there is something called as end of life technology and new age technology. You don't want to go into something which is an end of life technology, because if you go for an end of life technology, it is not going to add much value. Now, this is mostly on part of that. If you see from the advisory perspective, what we can actually add value as chartered accountant, I would say, these are the things where you can play a lot of interesting role as vendor evaluation. Okay. Now I have a question for all of you. Okay. I'm sure you have been part of vendor evaluation, but there are many factors where it is not so easy as 1, 2, 3, 4 and giving marks out of 10. And if that is being easier, then next step is more tougher out there. I have a question for all of you. How many of you have read your Gmail agreement? Have you read your Gmail agreement, or have you just said, I accept? I am 110% sure. Maybe Dheeraj sir would have seen it, but everyone else would have just put, I agree. Okay.
I agree.
No, nothing wrong with that. I'm just telling you, but you should see some of the contract negotiation, which are very important. And this is what it calls for in contract negotiation. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'll give you this thing. You have an organization which has, let's say, 200 or 300 users. You go to, Microsoft and say, hey, you know what? This is our agreement. Okay. Agreements are for most of the Asia Pac region. It is coming from Singapore, which is their headquarters. So your legal team sits out there. Now, do you know one very interesting thing? Let's say you also have a data center. Let's say you are, Oman Tel, and you have a data center. And your data center also you have, like, let's say some 200 machines more are there. Now, can at the same point of time, both the machine have same licenses? Now, there may be answer no, there may be answer yes. It all depends on the contract negotiation, because that is a DRP side or disaster recovery planning side. Maybe you are not having it at the same point of time. So we need to understand that contract negotiation is a big area. The third one is, cloud implementation advisor, someone who can advise, okay, this is how the cloud computing has to work. And these are the things which we can actually see. This is more on advisory of telling them, hey, you know what, this is how you should implement cloud, because there is someone who's actually guiding the organization, it will be always good instead of going in a random basis and everything. And last but not least, this is what I would love all of you to do it, and I'm just sharing it with you. There is something called as Cloud Control Metrics, CCM, and the version 4 is there. I'm just sharing the screen, and I will share it with all of you also. At your leisure, please go through it. This is a very interesting, what I call it as environment, which you can actually see. So here it is. This is called Cloud Control Metrics, which is from CSA. It says, what are the controls? You have heard about risk control matrix and all things. It just tells you everything, what you need to implement. It is like a ready-made things which is available out here. And this is a very interesting thing. You should actually look into this. CCM is a area where there is a lot of requirement for people to basically guide. Okay, this is how we can implement, and these are the things which we can do. So these are the area where chartered accountant can play a lot of advices. So I already talked about CCM. CCM is something which is very interesting. And I would highly recommend you. I'll just share it up the link along with the PPT. Please go through it, and I'm sure you'll find it very interesting in terms of how it has been done. Coming to the next part, which is the control domain, or what we can do in assurance services. I'm sorry, it looks very busy, but this is like the basic stuff which we need to worry about. And I'm going into a little bit of the technicalities, but fundamentals are required to be actually covered out there. So the control domain which are there as per CSA, CCM version 4 is on application and interface, how the audit assurance function will work, compliances, how do you build up your business continuity, how do you change control, data center security, encryptions, identity and access management, human resource. Many times human resource part is already messed up, okay? Do we have the right team? And my favorite, friends, I'm just trying to, I love that area, and this area is called interoperability. This is an area which a lot of people don't understand. Interoperability is, if I'm going for some solution, am I locked in with this guy, or I have a chance to go to other? I gave you the example. I'm using Workday. Can I go to tomorrow with SAP? Can I actually work with them? These are the things which we need to look into and understand. Similarly, when we are talking about the assurance services, which we can actually give it to that, these are the areas where we can add value. These are the 5 top areas which I thought I will actually spend some time with all of you, because this will give you an understanding of why it is important. So starting from, friends, identity and access management. Now, identity and access management, why so important? How do you know that there is no, like, how many of you have seen this one game? Are you guys playing or not? Have you seen this game called Among Us? Are you playing it? My kids are playing it, so I also played it with them. It's a fun game, Among Us. And now it's like basically you're finding an imposter among you. In the ship is there and all the. You may think, why this guy play a lot of games? Games are always good to keep your mind active. Okay, so if you see that, identity and access management is very important. I want to know who has access to my systems, my data, and how much access he has, what he can do with that. You may think, okay, it may not be of a big impact, but guys, you should know there have been organizations whose going concern was actually went for a toss because of not having identity and access management, and those companies have closed down. There have been cases like that which has happened. You can Google it out, you'll find it out. And that shows that the concept which we always take it about as granted, going concern, they may not be there at all. Okay, so that is on the identity and access management. And when we say identity management, it's all about first who you are, and access management, friends, is all about what you know. Like, for example, I just come into I give my user ID, that's my identity. I give my password, that is like authentication. And once I come in, what I can do, that would be my authorization. So I need to have those things properly defined, and I have to review it during the reviews. Second, data protection. This is nothing goes without saying. If Facebook can be hacked, if large organization can be hacked, this is something which you can actually have reasonable assurance on. 100% assurance, we cannot do that. There are a lot of people who will just commit that, okay, I can hack your machine anytime. And this is possible today. So it's all about the cost benefit analysis, what you have to do, and make it tougher for that person to get into that. So this is another areas of focus onto that, where we try to see whether there are proper data protection policies, procedure, practices in terms of dealing with the organization. And if you don't get that, then we are in a mode where we are not sure how we deal with that. So it's very important. This is also from the governance perspective. So data governance is now the future. And when we are talking about your protection of data, the requirement around that, it is all about your, what we call is, there is a co-mingling of data. On the same server, there can be 3 companies' data can be there. So let's say, for example, my data gets hacked, but you will not get a chance to audit that machine because 2 other people's data is also there on that machine. So this is a challenge. I need to look into that. You got my point? So those are the things which we need to understand. Then come technology risk. Virtual operating system. Okay, I don't know how many of you have used a VMware, like, you know, in your laptop, you made a VMware, a virtual machine, and you have played around that. If you have played around that, this is very interesting because you have 2 machines running into that. Now there will be a question on SODs. We all talk about segregation of duties and areas like that. Who is going what? Logging all the access, audit logs, everything. Now these things become another challenges which has to be reviewed. These are the key area of focus during the audit or assurance functions which we do. My favorite is, guys, operations. When I say operations, it's all about change management. When was you upgrading it up? Your SLAs, are you meeting your SLAs? Now, SLA, survey level agreement. Let's say, for example, I come to you and I sell you a kind of a SaaS software as a services of closing your books of account, which will help you close the books of account. And I give that it will be having 93% uptime, which means 7% of the time in the year it can be down. Now, end of the year, you are paying me the money and you find that, yes, I have met 93% uptime. But that is not the right approach. What if the 7% of the time it is down, you know, is when during my closing of books of account, then am I meeting the requirement, friends? No. Am I actually doing right meeting the SLAs correctly? No. I have to monitor it. And because there are monies being paid out there, and when you're putting it up, you have to look into all this kind of stuff in terms of backups, in terms of operation. And one area where you always get issues is change management, because change management is going to be there. The businesses are dynamic. They're not going to be static in terms of how we are dealing with on day-to-day basis. So those things has to be looked into and managed. The last area is on regulatory. Now, regulatory part, I'm sure you've heard about Sarbanes-Oxley Act. I'm sure there are some laws. It would be there in Oman also for telecom company. There may be some laws in Dubai for banking company and insurance company. Depending on them, they have a regulatory requirement. And there, the main focus is on what we call it as your making sure that the data which is there is protected. The privacy of the data is maintained. So if we don't do that, then there are going to be challenges and we'll not be able to do justice to them. Okay. So this was some of the things which we have to focus on. But if you have to do a cloud assurance function in your organization, I just thought I will add one slide out there, how you can do that. You know, just like preparing for the thing where you do develop your audit plan. It's not something different. Ultimately, we have audited every kind of environment, right? We understand that. Either we can advise them on that or we can do this. But different cloud environment has different challenges, different risks. That would be the prep work. Then the field work where we can gather all the evidences and everything which is there. That. Performing the test of design and operation effectiveness. We all know about that term. And finally, documenting the gaps. And these are some of the sample, how you make your risk control matrix, which is based on CCM. How do you document it up? And okay, these are some of the common audit findings which you will find in case of cloud environment when you are reviewing it up. It may be something like the password settings are not compliant. You have this happened with one of our organization. They were an aerated drink company and they took another system. They have a enterprise-wide requirement that your password should be alphanumeric in minimum 8 digit. But the additional software they were buying, it has only 5 digit. Now they actually asked that cloud vendor to basically change the whole system before they can use it. So these are issues which are there, that it is complying or not complying with your password policies or settings, because this environment will be always facing the internet. Anything can happen out there. So we have to be very careful in terms of how do we deal with that. Similarly, the second thing is the port. Okay, I'll just say, if you're not on so much on technical, I'll just say port is nothing but, there are some different paths for your servers and all things. Sometimes some ports are wrongly configured. They are doing it, and that can lead to someone compromising your machine. There can be a lack of policies and procedures. My favorite is always you'll find the people who have left the organization, their access is still there. It happened, right? When I was doing my articleship, after I left my articleship, I was just after 1.5 years, I just thought, what is my boss doing? So I log on to his Hotmail account and I figure it out. Sir, theek kar rahe hain. Now it means I have left the organization, but still he has not changed the password. It was a common password which was being used. Now that kind of things do happen even today. You may think that no, people have become more and more, I would say, things, but that's not the case, I would say. Employee has been transferred from one organization to other organization, still they have this issue. Then the last one is the SOC report. SOC report is, what we call as SOC 2, SOC 1, Service Organization Controls. It's basically a requirement by ICAI CPE, but it is already there even in our SA, Standard of Auditing, SA 402, which talks about whenever you have outsourced anything, you want to make sure your controls are not outsourced. Your controls are correct out there in that environment. So many a times service provider don't take the SOC report, which is Service Organization Controls, and we should insist that you have a SOC report or not. Last two is on PII, Personally Identified Information, which is all about data. Many a time your data is not encrypted. Let's say, for example, your laptop is there and you're logging into some application. The password is saved in your application only in a clear text format. So if I know which file it is, I can actually basically go and check it out for that. Okay. So that is something which is there. And use of shared account. This is very dangerous, friends, and we should be very careful about this. What we call it as many times people will just to manage the license fee, they will have shared account. Shared account, there is another problem. Let's say a shared account is managed by 5 people. If someone does something wrong, how do you know who has done it? You have to fire all the 5 people. Now, this is a big problem. There are a lot of cases like this, which has happened also in organizations. So we need to be sure about this and manage it up in the right perspective. Got my point? So friends, just to recap, I just want to tell you, cloud environments are something which are becoming what we call as the future. In time to come, you will never see standalone systems anymore. You are seeing more and more organizations are moving to that. Coming to the hype, yes, if you would have asked me 5 years to 10 years back, I would say there is a hype. But today, this is an essential thing. It's something which is required day in, day out. Now, as a thing, professionals, what are the 2 areas it impacts us? One, we are the user of the cloud. So we have to see what value add we can bring to the table in terms of what we call it as, advisory role, understand that where we can, suggest them which cloud environment to go for, what are the things which we need to know it, how we should be actually having different types of what I call it as, environment created and reviewed and checked, and ensure that there is a proper, negotiation on the contractual side and everything. The second is on the assurance function, because we have to see if you are using in your organization anywhere cloud, there are going to be new risks, new controls, and new approach altogether. And this is what, you see this picture out here. It's an apple, but what is coming inside from this is an orange. So you have to expect the unexpected and be prepared. Cloud environments are going to take over the world, whether we like it or not, in time to come. And it's always makes sense to be more prepared on this area in terms of, okay, this is going to come and hit us. Are we aware of that? Do we know what it happens, how it impacts us, and what are the key things which we need to look into? So that's all from my side, sir. I thought I'd finish in 1 o'clock. That's the time which was given to me. And thank you very much for the opportunity, Ravi, sir, and everyone. I really enjoyed it, sharing my thoughts with all of you.
If anybody has any questions, can they get put in the question answer session, or can raise your hand so that I can promote them?
Yes.
Anybody in from the panelist?
Feel free. I know it was a little technical, but the reason I wanted to have
Anandji, I have one question. That
yes,
we in our organization also on the cloud, we are using this, no? So there's one concern that ACL robotic. I'm using as a auditor now ACL robotics.
Yes,
so as a platform. So my IT department was saying that it's a risk and we need to put in our premises rather than a cloud. So how you feel this as a risk and can you help?
I would little bit differ on this one. Usually there is a kind of a concept which is called that, that, oh, this is a risky area, and this is a misconception, I would say. 5 years back, they would have said this, it is true. But right now, I hope US government data is on the cloud. Indian government data is on cloud. In fact, Amazon has set up a data center in India just to target Indian government data. As we move, I would say in some cases, I can assure you, the environment is more safer if it is there on the cloud compared to that. But having said that, there is a kind of fear of unknown. When we don't know what it is there and what is going to come and hit us, we don't try to basically learn it up. One very interesting thing. No one likes change. Do you agree, sir? No one likes change, sir. Okay. I went to one of the very interesting session sometime back at Indian Oil Corporation in Gurgaon. They have a training center, and I like one very interesting mural which was there on the reception. What was the mural saying? It says, change before you are forced to change. Now, 10 years back, 20 years back, people used to say we should have our own data center. 20 years back, everyone used to make their own data center. Slowly, they moved into what? Paid data centers, which are like managed by others. And now that same thing is happening. It's all about people not aware of that. If you check out Gartner report, more and more organizations are moving to the cloud because it would be foolish to spend money and keep a big team of people, just inefficiency created when we are trying to do this. If anyone says to me that cloud data is insecure compared to my data, I'm ready to challenge it. I'm going to show them that, please come and let's have a debate on that, or we can show it to you that it's not otherwise. It is more equally same out there. I hope that answers the question, sir.
There is one question from me. Sunil here.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Sunil here. Regarding the concern regarding the usage, won't it be advisable to have two cloud side service providers simultaneously, at least for the time being, till we get the assurance that, okay, this one service provider is going to protect your data according to your needs?
Sir, there is organizations which are doing it in a two-way. I'll just give you an example. If I can maybe just show it to you, if it is fine with you. Can I just show it to you, sir, something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so let me just share my screen, and I will try to show you something very interesting. See, Azure, let's say, for example, you are right, perfectly. Redundancy is the key. We are auditors and we always want to have redundancy, because a redundancy is going to have a lot more controls in terms of how we are dealing with that. So I'm just sharing my screen. Here we go. Show windows. Okay. I have actually a lot of windows open. So let me see. Okay, let me share this one. Okay, I think so. I'll go to Azure because we use Azure. That's why I'm just telling you. We use AWS also. Now. What happens? What I'm trying to say. This is from Microsoft. It's a public cloud. Now, by default, what happens is I can actually say that my environment is in two sites. One is in Americas. One I can actually say I want it to be. I'm just showing the pricing here. I can just say. Let's see. One is in India. I can just choose it. So let's say, for example, you can see my screen. We are using it for some blockchain right now, but let me show you on a virtual machine. It's nothing but a server I'm just buying. So if I'm buying a server, I can actually see that this server which is there is okay. Let me view it. Yeah, here is the server. Can you see that I have given a region called I want it in US West? I can actually say that I want it in India, which is South India, and I want a kind of backup site in maybe Korea or Norway. So if anything happens wrong in India, I can do it. But if I go to two different service providers, then there may be a little bit of challenge, because what will happen is Then I have to manage the environment in terms of doing it. Can you see I'm getting it for monthly $98.6. I'm getting a server class machine, which I can use it anywhere. And I can say that I can have a, a backup plant in somewhere other part of the world, and I can have all the things which can be managed. So it is very much what we call it as, if I have to use a word, customizable to your need. So your question is very correct that we should have some kind of risk, diversion in terms of redundancy and all things, and that can be done here.
Thank you.
I hope that answers your question, sir.
Thank you.
Anandji, one question from my end.
Yes, sir.
Sir, basically, this is a very, simple question, but I would like to ask you because you're expert view. When we are moving away from this perpetual license, Microsoft Office to Office 365, right? So that's if I put a cost into perspective, that would be definitely, it's very difficult to compare. So what are the factors an organization should consider when they are moving from a perpetual Microsoft Office or any, for that matter, any perpetual licenses to cloud or Office 365?
So Digant sir, this is a very good question. I would say the main factor which we should be aware of, Digant sir, is which perpetual license we are using. Let's say, for example, you are still having 2017. Okay, I would suggest you should wait for 1 or 2 years because it is going to, it's not an end of life technology. But if you are still in 2013 and other environment which is there, my suggestion is you should put it as a sunk cost. It is all gone for a toss. When we have to take a kind of a better understanding in terms of doing it. And I would also suggest, this is what I was coming to, you can actually negotiate. This is a lot of people don't understand that, but you can actually negotiate. See, we are Indians, with all due respect, don't take it. Otherwise, we love to negotiate, okay? We do that. So it's fine. You can do negotiate. We have seen, if you go to organizations like Microsoft, people thought you can't negotiate. It's a misconception. You have to negotiate. We have done a lot of negotiation on behalf of the client on licensing for Office 365. They are in Singapore. They will ask you some tough question initially, but if you go prepared, you can get your way out.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ravi sir, you are on mute.
So any further question from anybody else? No. So now I say thank you very much, Anandji, and for this wonderful session. And now I request Sanwaz Khan is from Bahrain to felicitate our speaker for the day, Anandji. Sanwazji, are you there with me?
Yes, Ravi, I'm there, and yeah, thank you very much. And it's a wonderful session. I really enjoyed it. And yes, I see Anand, you from our community, and yet I suppose, giving and sharing the knowledge, which is something, I believe, the talk of the town. So thank you very much. And on behalf of the Muscat chapter, we like to facilitate and I suppose offer a small token of gesture from our side. So please accept it with humility.
Sure, sir.
Very much for your data.
Thank you.
God bless.
It's a pleasure, sir. It's a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Okay. Now moving forward, now I request CA Digant Pandya to introduce our next speaker, CA Rajeev Sharma ji.
Thank you, Raviji. I'm on behalf of ICAI Muscat chapter. I would like to introduce our second speaker of the day, CA Rajeev Sharma ji. Rajeev Sharma ji is a chartered accountant, 44th rank holder. He is also a company secretary, 7th rank holder, and cost accountant, LNM, DISA, CISA. DISA, he is also a rank holder in India, and CISA, he is a rank holder in Mumbai chapter. He is also CFE. Mr. Rajeev Sharma is a founder promoter of a large cloud-based outsourcing company, Outsource Global Private Limited. He is the first generation entrepreneur with over 30 plus years of experience in the consulting, IT and outsourcing industry. Mr. Rajeev, who is 52 years of age, has formidable experience of establishing and managing large business entities. He has a deep domain knowledge and process expertise to handle large transformational technology-driven and international outsourcing deals. He is also he has won industry awards and recognition in past. In 2013-14, he won actually Asia BPO Summit 30 Most Talented Leaders Outsourcing Industry Award. In 1415, again, Asia BPO Summit awarded him for excellence in leadership in outsourcing. He is a member of many of the ICAI and BCAS committees. A few of them are, he is a co-opted member for 2016-17 of DTPRC committee, which is a digital transformation and process re-engineering committee of ICAI. He is also a member of IT committee. He was also a member of IT committee for 2016-17 and 2017-18, WIRC of ICAI. He was also a member of Digital Transformation and Technology Committee for 2018-19, member of Technology Committee since 2018-19, BCAS Mumbai. So with this small introduction, I would now like to hand over the stage to Raviji and to Rajeev Sharma ji. Rajeev Sharma ji, over to you.
So this was a nice presentation, Anand, much appreciated. And I think it's a very logical segregation that you've made. You've focused on the practicing chartered accountant. And since I had an honor of coming to Muscat and presenting physically in the chapter, so I know the demography of the members there. I know quite a number of you are working in the industry, either in internal audit, compliance control, or your CFOs. So I have prepared this whole presentation, keeping in mind that at one point, either you're transitioning your processes to cloud or you'll be evaluating it. So my presentation is more focused from practical tips and aspects that if your organization is moving into cloud, how it should move, what are the dilemmas, and how to separate reality from the hype. So I hope this is worth your time. Let me start sharing my screen. So I hope my screen is shared and visible to all of you.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, great. So I'm sticking to the theme of separating hype from reality, and Anand tried to avoid a lot of technology lingo and jargon, because once, whether we are CA or non-CA, once we get into technology consulting, we tend to throw the alphabet soup on everyone who's coming in contact with us. So please pardon me if some of the alphabet soup which I throw at you, you're not able to understand. You can raise your hand, question, ask me. I'll be very happy to interact with you. And I'm going to speak as a chartered accountant who has been in technology domain for over 30 years. I have set up the companies, I've run it, and I'm running the cloud-based outsourcing company for now 17, 18 years. So I'm actually dirtying my hand, going to the CXOs, CFOs, CIOs, selling the solution, encouraging them to move to the cloud, answering most of their questions. So the presentation which I'm going to make is going to be from practical aspect point of view. So understanding of the cloud, I'll just run through quickly, then structured approach for migration, some of the key challenges and benefits, and then I've kept some case studies, which are generic global case studies and some of our real life examples. So depending on the time availability, we'll stop at that particular time. So understanding cloud is very simple, and this is, again, I've just picked from my interaction with CXO suite people across the world. One of the first thing is that solutions are refusing to leave home, because when you are telling them that you have to go to the cloud, immediately there is, as Anand was saying, we don't like change. So there is resistance from everywhere. People say, no, 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 they're very good here, they're running fine. Why do we need to change it? So the question is, the justification which they put it is, we can do it better in-house as compared to cloud. So these are some of the first resistance that we face, and most of you will also face when you propose it in your managing committee or your executive committee that cloud is where we should head. Second is that cloud will bring more headache. I will lose control, and privacy will go away and security will go away. Now once we cross over, the next 2 points are basically people who are sold on cloud. So they say that latest solutions are all cloud native solutions. Cloud native means built for cloud, only for cloud. So I'm going to get cloud native solution and everything is going for them. So we'll get it and it's so simple to implement. So again, across the spectrum divide, the next argument is that cloud is a silver bullet. Cloud will solve all my problems. So before I get into the whole explanation part of this concept, let me assure you that neither side of the argument is true. The last two arguments are the extreme side of the hype, and first two solutions are extreme side of the resistance. The real path lies somewhere in between. So we as custodian of the compliance and finance function will have to learn that what is the middle path that as an organization we have to take, and ensure that we do all the we dot all the I's, we cross all the T's before we are actually migrating. So having set the expectation, there are few things I just wanted to share with you. So cloud is not a one-step process that you just take a decision and you move on. It's an iterative process. The process keeps on going again and again. You need to reevaluate your technology stance and business needs every time. And whenever you're planning, you need to plan long term, because it has to be a phase 1 approach, phase 2 approach, phase 3 approach. So theoretically speaking, say you want to move your ERP into cloud. So would you like the all modules to go on cloud, or you say, no, I'll retain my core FICO modules in house, and I would rather take out modules like, say, HRMS, CRM, which are not directly impacting my core business. And then I will go in the phase 2 with my financial accounting module, etc. So it's a long-term view that you have to go for. Then there are things like you need to take whether what is the architecture that you're going to get into, that whether architecture is going to be active, passive, or the whole 9 yards have to be discussed and debated. I won't really load a lot of technology knowledge on you, but these are few things that you need to keep in mind. Now, next, as earlier panelist was referring, I already had this reference ready. So this is Gartner hype cycle. It's used for multiple technology landscape. This is the 2020 cloud security hype cycle. And what is heartening to note that if you look at the whole journey, about 60% of them have already either crossed or crossing the trough of disillusionment. So anytime a new technology comes, its innovation trigger goes for the peak, and from peak it starts sliding down to the trough of disillusionment. And that is where a lot of technologies get lost, or the people realize they were just hype. But whereas for the cloud hype cycle, and especially from the cloud security point of view, you will see 60% of them have crossed that critical path. And if you look at the legend, this is slightly hazy, pardon, because I couldn't get a good and clear picture. But if you really look at it, about 50% plus of them will reach maturity in 2 years. That blank circle indicates that they will reach maturity in 2 years. That's very heartening to note that cloud security is rapidly going towards maturity. So it's here to stay. It's already accepted. And most of the concepts are rushing towards maturity. So this industry oracle or the guru or whatever you call is predicted by Gartner, because Gartner predicts, and everyone from Cognizant to Infosys to IBM, everyone looks to them for the whole guidance. So this is where the cloud security scenario is. So having laid the concept of cloud, where we are and what we're doing, let me move on further to the structured approach to cloud migration, because as I set out to explain to you that how as an organization or as a internal compliance expert, you should approach the cloud migration. So there are 3 steps. You have to set your own journey, because every organization is different. Every organizational values, principles, risk appetite is totally different. So you have to set your journey. It's your own unique individual journey. There is no way. You could always refer to the case studies which have been there in the public domain, but ultimately they need to be tailored to suit your requirement and your unique needs. Second is that the whole IT and business model, or so to say operating model, will change, because currently you are in a domain where servers are in-house, and you could not work on, say, night, because there's no night shift server engineer available. hypothetically speaking. But when you move to cloud, everything is available 24/7, 365. There is no way that a work from home scenario or a lockdown scenario impedes your access to the server. You're able to access it from anywhere in the world. There's, even if there is a problem, you are able to, you have the full support, you are able to resolve and go on. And the third step is the benefits. It's like this keeps on giving you benefits. So it's not that when you transition only the benefit comes, the benefit keeps on giving. This is one decision which will keep on giving you benefits across a long period of time. So you need to take that also in account when you're designing the whole migration. So okay, so there is a question which has come, why cloud is necessary in 21st century. So Karthik, I'll try and cover it in some of my next slides. If I'm not able to cover, I'll again revisit your question and answer, and keep the questions coming. So I'll be very happy to make it more interactive, because as a chartered accountant, I'm running a technology driven company, and I always love sharing, because I know that some of us feel that CAs become glorified accountants. So whatever I can do to give you tech edge, it'll be my pleasure. So let's just move forward, and again, please pardon me because some of it is jargon, but I need to explain to you, because if I don't explain it to you, your consultant will come and talk you through it, and you may not understand what this is all about. So the cloud migration approach is could be any, and it's like a hydra-headed approach. It could be on-premises where your physical servers are. So on-premises to cloud, which is a standard approach which everyone understands. Or it could be cloud to cloud. So you could be on a private cloud, you go to public cloud, or you're on a public cloud, you go to private cloud, or vice versa, whichever model that you're looking at. Or you could go from cloud to multi-cloud. So one of the questions which was asked to earlier panelist Anand was that when I'm migrating to cloud, or should I go for one cloud or two cloud? So even though Anand answered very well, and he showed you from his Azure panel that how the cost structuring is, but in one of our client situation, we were asked this question that, how do you assure us that your downtime is guaranteed? So if service provider downtime happens, say AWS goes down, like how Google goes down sometime or Facebook goes down sometime, so how it won't impact my organization? That was the question. So that is where we had to tell them that if your uptime is so critical, then you better look for two different cloud service providers. Maybe you could go to Azure and AWS, that is Amazon Web Service, or you go to Google Cloud and Azure or AWS. So this is where cloud to multi-cloud transition also is happening, and it is happening very, very actively as we speak. Then cloud to hybrid. Hybrid is like bringing home. Like you're storing a lot of data. Nothing is free in this world, so no lunch is free. Your cloud service provider is also making money. You'd be surprised to note that Amazon, for all its e-commerce might, is making maximum money from AWS only. It's not making from e-commerce yet. So all of us who are paying AWS, we are actually contributing to Jeff Bezos' personal wealth. So there is a lot of money on the table in even cloud scenario, and where your model increases to such an extent that you're storing a lot of data, a lot of activity you're doing on cloud, then some of the organizations have slowly started keeping the critical functions on cloud, taking maximum advantage of cloud, but still bringing some of the functions or mirroring them back in-house, like a pure play data center and a cloud center. So this is one of the model. And on-premises to hybrid. So like some of you are not comfortable, again, the earlier question that can I have two clouds? So this is a classic case that you keep something in-house and replicate the same on cloud till the cloud reaches a maturity. So you are testing water, you're saying that, okay, my internal process is still stable. I have no risk of downtime because my servers are there, but still I'm going on cloud. So you get best of both worlds. If you ask me which model is best, I would say it's personally, I'm ambivalent to all the models. It all depends on your appetite for risk, your organizational ethos, values, how your organization is viewing the whole process. Is there a risk? you'll be surprised. I can just share you some anecdotal reference here. One of the largest organization in India, which is professionally run, is not on cloud yet. They have their own data center, which they have put on cloud. They say it's cloud, but it is not real cloud. It's own data center which they're managing. And you won't believe, for last 6 months, we are in conversation with them. And there are many hoops that we're jumping through. They're testing our solution on cloud. They're calling it proof of concept. Then they are auditing us. So that fear of letting go from the largest conglomerate is so high that we are actually jumping one hoop after the another continuously. They've got third-party auditors to come and audit us. The SOC report, that SSAE 18 certification, they wanted certain areas to be re-audited. All that is going on. So what happens is, any cloud model that you go to the market with, or when you evaluate, it needs to undergo the touchstone process of your own organizational requirement. So having set the context, having set that how the whole thing works, I'll just take it forward. Cloud migration approaches, I've just tried to list it because, again, these are some of the jargons which will be thrown at you. The easiest is rehosting. So you have some application in-house, you just take a space. It's like renting a godown. Instead of storing in your house, you are just taking extra furniture away and storing in a storage. So it's like rehosting. So you just take a cloud space, rehost your existing application. Say you have a mail server, Lotus Notes, your Outlook Exchange server, you would just like to rehost it. So you don't want your own servers, you just take them out and rehost it. So this is the first stage. Second could be re-platforming, so that you have a good solution, which you feel is good solution. But when you try to move it out, some of the components may not work because the new platform on which you're going may need a little bit of structural changes. So web server, maybe you go to Tomcat or Apache or any other web service that you need to invoke. You need API connectors to come. So, application protocol interface. So API connectors to come in. And so you need to do a little bit of re-platforming over there. Third is repurchasing. So you say, my HRMS is very old, or my CRM is very old. I would rather go and take an off-the-shelf SaaS product like Salesforce.com or Workday, as Anand was referring, or SuccessFactors. Any of them, you go and you subscribe to it on cloud. So either repurchasing means you're basically taking a new solution all along, and you're just dumping your old solution. You're not carrying it along. Then this is retire, where you feel that, okay, this say plant control monitoring system you had, now I'm already getting a IoT enabled plant monitoring system on cloud. So I would retire this application completely. I don't even need it. This is not needed in my new scheme of things. So you just retire. You don't even create that application or copy that application into cloud. So you feel that as an organization, you've grown, matured, and you don't need that particular application. And of course, so retain is the decision where you feel, no, I would not go to SAP HANA. I've already invested into my SAP on premises. So I'll pull it along for 1 or 2 more years till SAP comes and literally says that end of life, no support, and then only I'll move out. So I'm still retaining it in-house. I'm not trying to go on the cloud. So with these multiple models, the question which was asked that why cloud is important in 21st century, you will realize that when you go to buy a new server, whenever you buy the server, the first question you're asked that how many years this server will serve you. So everyone says 3 years, 4 years, that's end of life for most of the servers. So what do you do? Currently, your capacity is say 2. Then you plan for 5. And you pay immediately for those servers. And you take the benefit over 36 months or 48 months. So as a finance professional, if you do the cost benefit analysis, you would rather go for a flex server where you relocate on cloud and say, as I grow, you charge me extra. That is cheaper to go than buy and acquire new server. That is why cloud is becoming very important. Similarly, say if you want to go for an HR solution. So when say you have PeopleSoft or SAP or SuccessFactors, of course, part of SAP only, or a Workday or anyone coming to you, they will try and sell you the whole suite. The whole suite might call you $1 million. Whereas when you go to cloud, you say, okay, I will only take, first I'll take only employee profile and leave an attendance module so that I will just first settle down for 6 months. So you pay very small amount, you settle down, transition it out perfectly, and then move ahead. So that is why you are saving money, you are getting best of both worlds, and you're able to control your destiny. So that is why cloud becomes very important. Now, moving ahead, having set your expectation, I'm just trying to move ahead and explain to you that how this process has to be done. So 6 pillars of success I've tried to assimilate here, because if cloud has to be done and you are one of the key leaders who's driving it or who's assessing it, evaluating it, then these are the key 6 pillars that you need to manage. The first thing is setting goals. So as I earlier said, the goals are very important. What are your organizational goals? Why do you want to go on cloud? What are the current goals that you had? You acquired servers, you filled them into your data center, everything. Why did you do it? Why are you moving it? What are the performance expectation, not only on day one, but on say, after 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, what are your expectations? What are the management expectations? Once you set the goals, you set the performance expectation from the cloud, then you need to buy in from the management that this is where we are going. These are the goals that we are setting out to achieve. These are the performance expectations that we are going to have from this cloud. And this is what we are going to evaluate, like 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to my key criteria for any vendor that I'm going to evaluate. So when you are evaluating your vendor, when you're seeing what cloud service provider you should go for, and let me again just take a step back. There is nothing called single cloud. You could go to say AWS, but you will go to say salesforce.com. So there's a combination that you're taking, okay, or Salesforce is giving you directly bundled service. But say an organization like OSource, we are already giving bundled AWS service. But some of the large conglomerates are telling us we don't want to get onto AWS. And we have evaluated and we found that Google Cloud is much more suitable for our price point, our performance goals. Would you migrate or would you render the SaaS platform or a cloud platform which OSource is offering on Google? So these are the initial discussion process which you could have with multiple vendors. So they've gone to Google Cloud, they've come to OSource for 3 platform, they are going to another vendor for another platform, and they are trying to construct a solution into Google Cloud. So this is where setting goals, expectation, performance criteria is very important, because your safety, security, process, control, everything you have evaluated, your CIOs have helped you, and that's how it is moving ahead. One of the goal could be financial parameter also, that how much money you want to save at the end of the day. Then second is the technical configuration, and we chartered accountants are expert in it. So that, you know, in SAP, quite a number of you are practicing in SAP, etc. So you know that the whole initial configuration, ensuring that all the expectation controls, processes are correctly defined, the whole setup is correct, data security processes, the data access protocols, application availability across the cloud. Then, you know, I mean, even in this whole process of goals and configuration, even Reiki metrics that has to be evaluated, like responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. That is Reiki metrics, which is very important. You need to do that. And even architectural review at the time of setting goals and at the time of technical configuration is very important, that how your architecture is and how it will meet your requirement. Then comes the most important step before going live, that data migration. And as Anand kept on explaining to you, that are you getting logged into a particular platform? Are you interoperable? Means you're able to operate the data or move the data from platform A to platform B. So when you are moving, say, from in-house to cloud or cloud to cloud or hybrid to cloud, whatever combination that you've chosen, data migration is most important. So from platform A to platform B, when you're moving, data migration is the most painful and the most diligent process that one needs to follow. So This is where, of course, technology team will help you. But as finance professional and compliance professional, you know that if anything is left behind, we lack in our duty in compliance. So data migration is very important. You need to see that, okay, the platform in which data is going, how many data fields are there, go through the whole data dictionary, then see what are the primary fields where data has to be populated, mandatorily populated. From the current platform, are you getting those primary keys? Or if you're not getting them, do you need to repopulate them? And similarly, when you get off from the platform, how will you get off from the platform also is very important. Data you will get in what format? If suppose they just cut a data cube in unreadable format, in a proprietary format and dump on you, it's useless for you. So those data migration, that is onboarding and deboarding, both process you need to keep in mind. And then go live. Once first 3 steps are taken, go live, and then this is an iterative process, because you go live, you feel okay, you met certain expectations, you still feel that okay, there is something else which is required, you need to keep on working towards that. So that is it's like a way of life, because again, since you all know it, and like Gmail, most of us have migrated onto a cloud-based mail. So whenever the new version comes, it gets updated. We are able to use it seamlessly. We don't need to take the backup. We don't need to be. I mean, of course, at an enterprise level, the challenges are different, but we are not bothered that who's managing the server, etc., etc. So go live is a process which depends on organization to organization, how you would like to view. Then comes the change management as a part of go life cycle, that whenever your requirements change, your business processes have changed, and since you're on a single tenancy kind of, single tenancy is the cheapest cloud option, because you're not asking for a lot of changes from the SaaS service provider. You're using as is, where is basis with a front end configuration option. So if suppose your requirements are changing, then you need to engage your SaaS service provider, ask them, what is your product life cycle? These are some of my requirements. Are your product experts and product team considering it in future release? If yes, then when? What are your product roadmap? So you need to engage. That is from a software point of view. And since most of the interest would be on software, I'm not getting too technical on hardware side. But hardware is very simple, because if end of life comes, they will just, and they're all hot swappable servers. So they keep on plugging in new servers, all the upgrades in memory, in the hardware, everything keeps on happening. And one thing which I missed out is that if you want the WAF, firewall access, it's all plug and play, like how Azure panel, which Anand was sharing, you could just keep on clicking what more service you want, how you want the data backup to travel automatically to your premises, to say North Korea or South Korea premises, wherever you want data panel to go. So that's all part of your continuous evaluation and change management process. And then ongoing improvement. So this is the whole cycle. If you are evaluating or you're running it, so it could be easily done. So now bank or financial services institution usage cloud computing. You know, Karthik, as far as I'm aware that, you know, since Anand has worked for Infosys, quite a number of products which they are being offered even on a cloud basis. But generally, these services are governed by the central bank. So like Monetary Authority of Singapore allows the data to be hosted on a cloud basis and accessed on cloud. But the Central Bank of Malaysia and requires that Malaysian customers' data should not travel the Malaysian geographical boundaries. So it depends on country to country and regulator to regulator that how data needs to travel. So thanks for asking that question, Karthik. And if there is anything, I'll be happy to answer. Sorry.
Rajeev, I think Karthik has also asked one more question. If there is any bank, just check that.
Yeah, so I answered, I think, both questions, because he has now given me thumbs up for it. Okay. So why it is necessary in 21st century, I answered because of the cost benefit analysis and the way technology is moving, rather than trying to hold on to your own server and then throw it away after 3 years, you take it. And the second, which I've just answered, that depends on regulators' view. Most of the companies are offering it in one model or the other. the financial services software.
Thank
So,
you,
and
sir.
please keep on asking questions, because I love sharing, because as a chartered accountant, I intimately feel that somewhere we lack this knowledge, that how to harness technology. We get more into reading the say compliance point and ticking check boxes and all that, not getting more practical. So I'll be very happy to answer if there is any question that you have.
Rajiv, if I can ask one question, if you allow, can I ask, or you want to ask in the question answer session only?
No, I'll be happy to answer in between also, because I always
No, no.
love conversation.
No, you first complete the session, and I want to ask one question after the session is.
Sure, Ravi, thanks. So the key challenges I've just, there are many challenges. I've just tried to summarize about 5 of them. That the first challenge is suitability for cloud, where some of the old legacy system, the way architecture has been designed, it's so tightly coupled with the existing infrastructure that it can't be taken to the cloud. So it has to be scrapped, and a lot of investment has to be made, or it's a unique process where you don't have a ready SaaS service provider on the cloud. So you try and, so then if you see, typically there was a WhatsApp forward going on that Khata book is $1 billion valuation, and it is done by engineers and not chartered accountants, which is deplorable for us as a community. But they looked at a problem and existing gap in the way customers are being serviced. So they designed it. So wherever the need is generic, you would have multiple service providers lining up. And with Khata book now, there are many books which are lining up. So I think 5 years, 6 years down the line, you will have 10 such service providers. And even our sponsor Tally will have to think mobile first rather than web desktop first approach. So that's the way world goes. So if there is a need, there'll be pull. But in such cases where you have a very unique legacy system and unique process, suitability for cloud is challenged. So that's one. And typically in a manufacturing space where you have old manufacturing processes and management style is different, you may find difficulty over there. Second is that the data loss and privacy risks. All said and done, in public, especially in public cloud scenario, private cloud is much more secure. But in public cloud scenario, risk of data loss is real. So you don't know that your customer data going out. Even Facebook is losing data as we're being advised that you change your password, which I hope all of you have done it. So there is always a risk. There is always a risk-reward ratio, but in public cloud, reward is saving is high, so people go for public cloud, but risk has to be measured there. And that's where the concern is, whether they'll be able to protect it or not. Third is like GDPR, so that regulatory compliance that Europe says that my customer data, PII, the personally identifiable data, should be encrypted, should not be used, should not be misused. As I gave you example of Malaysian central bank saying that Malaysian customer data cannot travel. We worked with a large multinational bank in Singapore, where they were creating a data center in Singapore, and they wanted the data from India to move. So RBI issued them a letter that data is allowed to move, but an Indian CA has to audit that data center process. So there could be challenges, either legal challenges, regulatory challenges, which need to be kept in mind. So, for example, sharing anecdotal reference with you, one of our client, which is Hong Kong headquartered company, we gave them access to our AWS cloud in Mumbai. And when they started accessing, they felt that there was latency there, slow access. So they felt that can we overcome the latency? So then we said, okay, we'll mirror this solution into Singapore for you. So, and when we mirrored it in Singapore, they were comfortable because they felt that, okay, Singapore and Hong Kong are similar market, and their data is residing in Singapore. So it could be a technical requirement, it could be legal requirement, regulatory requirement, but compliance has to be kept in mind. Then cloud governance is another challenge, because SaaS solution has empowered the users to go and buy straight. It's like they're taking a bag out and going in the market. Okay, I'm buying this CRM solution. Then suddenly IT and compliance will keep running and saying, hey, hold on, you're compromising our data ethics. Data can't go This is PII data, sensitive data. How can you just contract with the vendor directly? So this is basically business users are feeling liberated now. They don't have to go IT to IT and say that build a solution for me. They are able to go to Google and search SaaS solution for this problem. And they'll get a list of about 10, 15, 50 vendors, and they can contact them directly and set up a trial run for a month, start putting live data onto that. And you don't know whether the trial data is being used by vendor for what, vendor is reliable or not. You must have read an article that it is very easy to buy a white label app and some APK and bang it together, and you are a fintech company overnight. So like we are having close to 1,000 fintech companies coming in India, some of them becoming $1 billion valuation overnight. So we need to be very careful, especially from compliance point of view. So this is cloud governance is real problem. So we need to balance user flexibility and governance concerns together. And then of course ROI. So this I have highlighted here, that you might be having existing data centers, large servers, storage, networking device, firewalls. You must have paid fortune for physical firewall, everything. Now that is going to go for a toss. So when and they are on your balance sheet, when you decommission it, you need to write it off. So there is a creative decommissioning you do. You call it a hybrid solution. So you don't say that I'm not using it, so you don't have to write off immediately. But if you write it off, then ROI goes for a toss. So these are few challenges. If there's any question on these challenges also, I'll be happy to answer. So these are few of the areas that we will encounter on a regular basis when we are making decision. Having said that, having said how it is working, what it is working, say, on a multi-cloud scenario, cost could be high in ROI, but the DNS-based DDoS attack will be very, very well managed. On a multi-cloud scenario, the risk of regional, global, the whole outage will be very, very low for you as far as you're concerned. So let's just move to some of the benefits before getting into some practical examples. So most of it we've covered now. It's like near zero risk of failure because you are able to take the backup. Like us, our cloud, the way we have configured, we have a active passive kind of arrangement. So at 12 o'clock midnight, the log gets shipped out to another service provider, where we have created a similar infrastructure, but in a passive mode, so that the whole uptime guarantee, the RPO, that RPO process, the way we have designed, is ensuring that in case of whatever commitment we have RPO process is ensured that if there is a downtime in AWS, we are able to go uptime in 4 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, depending on the client commitment. So that's why there is near zero risk of failure. Scalability is extremely high. You have flex servers, elastic to demand. Suppose now, so when test series goes on, you go to ESPN Cricinfo, the traffic will be humongously high. Everyone would be checking the score. Every millisecond, there'll be at least 1 million refresh hitting their website. But it all goes smoothly because they've gone for a flex hosting, so that whenever the traffic increases, that whole CPU utilization, they're able to monitor and keep on adding resource to it. So they are able to ensure that the service is seamlessly being delivered to you. Cost effective, of course, cloud is no brainer. It's any day, the moment you touch any process now to cloud, 25 to 30% cost is straightway saved there. A better work-life balance because your guys don't have to be sitting in the data center. They could be sitting anywhere, could be a common glass pane they could be looking at. In a work from home scenario, you could just log into your panel and see the health of your hosting. Everything can be managed. Disaster recovery, as I explained to you, that how we have a log shipment happening automatically at night, and it's being shipped automatically and saved it in a new location. It's very easy, no personal involvement. Once you set it up, it keeps on moving. Integration and automation. You could have multiple clouds. You could automate it. You could mount a robotic process automation onto it. So even RPA or even a simple Python code. I mean, RPA is overhyped. But if you don't want to go for say automation anywhere, Blue Prism, UiPath, don't want to pay them, because initially the cost is very low. But when you get into unattended bot situation, unattended bot is extremely high. So you really don't get any benefit because unattended bot, the kind of money you're paying is extremely high. So you could write a small Python code and automate the whole thing also. So you could get someone to do that for you. Security is as good as in-house, if not better, because the patch application, the hardware upgrade, the vulnerability assessment, everything is happening. Whatever you're signed up for is all happening in the background. So you're able to ensure the security is extremely high. At the same time, since you are creating your own cloud, you could create you control your WAF, you control which traffic hits, which traffic gets dropped, how the spam filter should be allowed, how your DMZ, the demilitarized zone server should be, which is exposed, which is not exposed. Everything you're able to design on the cloud in the best manner possible and monitor it remotely. So in terms of uptime guarantee, you already have an uptime guarantee from an organization like Google or Microsoft, Azure, or Amazon. So for a person like us who's servicing the customer, if I was to give that kind of uptime guarantee, I would have to buy 3 or 4 times my server capacity. Whereas with them, I have a flex arrangement or elastic arrangement. If they're, say, we are one of the largest payroll outsourcing service provider. So month end, the hit becomes very high. And typically in January, February, March, when in India, they're submitting their investment declaration, a large data set is traveling to our servers. So we are able to do that flex arrangement and increase the size of the server easily. So these are the benefits. So I've covered the challenges, I've covered the benefit, I've given you how the thing moves. I'll just now take you through some of the key study. And this is real life example. I'll first share some of the global case study. Please feel free to ask me questions because this will really help you. So Hemant, you asked that, for other verticals, yes, we are a cloud-led outsourcing company. So as I told, we are in multiple areas like HR services, we are on recon services, we are on transaction processing services, both in HRO and FAO segment. So we help companies who are migrating to cloud, either use our cloud or third-party cloud and provide service to them, bundle it together for them. So real life examples, let me just move to. These are global case studies. These are real life actual case studies. I have white labeled them because this is, I didn't want to code them as of now. So this is a case study one for a very small to mid-sized e-commerce company based in US. They were on premises, they moved to cloud. The key parameter or the key trigger for moving to cloud was that the company was struggling with maintenance, lack of scalability, and typically the Black Friday sale, their servers would go down because the traffic would be extremely high. You know how crazy Black Friday sale is in US. So they were planning on adding capacity, it took too much time, and the cost was too high. They needed ability to handle web surges in the web traffic. So they moved to cloud. And then what happened when they moved to cloud? For load testing, auto scaling, it was very easy for them because what they could do was they could simulate before moving to cloud. They went into test and arrangement and they simulated the peak load. When you simulate the peak load, your poor codes would get exposed. Poor coding means your software weaknesses, ability to handle query. Let me just give you one anecdote from my personal experience. We have more than 1 million people accessing our payroll services. So we changed the process during pandemic. Their ability to query my system on cloud was much more faster and smoother. But one of the code which we wrote was inefficient. So what was happening is the query was going in loop. So we started getting complaint that logouts are happening or we are not able to log into your server. And this happened over the weekend. So we immediately simulated on a parallel cloud, and we located that there was a path where the code was getting into a conflict. And when the conflict situation occurred, the query would go into a recursive loop. And when query enters the recursive loop, it will not come out of it. So it will eating resources. Similarly, this e-commerce company could test all. So if a user comes and simulates when, say, 1 million users are trying to buy one item, then how effectively I'm able to serve them. So this cloud allowed them to do that. And their Black Friday sale went smoothly, and they're one of the happy users of the cloud. Second is a company which provides SaaS platform to e-commerce. So they moved cloud to cloud. So they were always a cloud-based organization running their cloud on the e-commerce cloud, but they wanted to ensure that they were using best tools, best in class. So they ensured that their build deployment, they needed to deploy very regularly. So they needed the build and deployment process to be smooth. And typically the finding was that immutable infrastructure means infrastructure which doesn't drift, because any infrastructure which you deploy in-house will keep on drifting. Someone would change some configuration, some unwanted processes would get added. Whereas in cloud, generally the infra is immuted. The configuration doesn't drift. So you have consistency and surety that your infrastructure is correctly configured. So they were very successful in ensuring that all their cloud to cloud migration, the server flex, which I talked about, everything they could introduce. So fluctuating demand, sometimes it will be very high, sometimes it will be low. They could manage their cost accordingly. Case 3 is a GPS navigation solution, which ultimately got acquired by Google. So they were on a single cloud, again, to a query which was asked in the earlier session, that they wanted to move to multi-cloud because they felt that they had a lot of business risk in a single cloud. So they moved to, even though they were early movers of the cloud, but they had the bottleneck where when they were applying patches, the painful rollbacks, it will get stuck, their service might go down. So they needed a way to get faster. So they wanted multi-cloud where they could test on one of the cloud, apply the patches quickly, and ensure that that response is perfect so that core service is not going down. Even the second cloud was also active. So they could test it and immediately go. So this is like a multiple cloud where stability, reliability was required. Downtime is a concern. So they moved from cloud to multi-cloud scenario. I hope I'm making sense here and not getting too technical. You can always ask me a question if you want. And this is a cloud storage service, the case study 4, where they were on cloud, they went hybrid. As I said that there is no free lunch in the world, they realized that the service provider where they were hosting was also planning to get into the same service. So they felt that if they are onto their platform and they don't have any unique offering or unique technical finesse, then they will get caught out. And the service provider was a giant, so they couldn't fight with them. So what they did was they kept the generic service on the cloud, and their core strength they brought into a hybrid cloud where they brought it in-house. And they actually moved from a SQL, NoSQL model. SQL model is like an Oracle database or SQL database. And NoSQL is like big database, so MongoDB, where you don't store in RDBMS database. So they brought it in the whole NoSQL model where the huge storage was. They brought into some of the large servers in-house where the user interface and action was not very large. So it was a case-to-case call, which they would come into their cloud, and on case-to-case call, they'll fetch the document from NoSQL and push it to SQL. So this is how they successfully moved from cloud to hybrid. So these were 4 case studies I wanted to cover, where internationally companies have been able to take advantage of it. They moved from cloud 1 to cloud 2, and were successful. I'll just rush through some of the case studies which we have done. I'll be very brief here, and then I'll take question answer. So for the largest hospitality company in the world, we have deployed the business process management tool for them. They are using in more than 500 hotels across the world. More than 25,000 users are live at any given point of time on this cloud. They had 100 business processes which were manual. They were struggling. They wanted to bring a single compliance framework because in hotel, the revenue leakage, the chances of fraud are extremely high. And there are a lot of ad hoc decisions and authorizations which take place if you're familiar with the hotels. So this process was brought to ensure that the